Here's an example of a double angle formula. I found this example from page 270 in the IVSL textbook. You're given the angle theta is acute and the cosine of 2 theta is 3/4. And we want to find out what is the cosine of theta. So we're going to use the double angle formulas. I have these in the box over here. I'm just going to choose the second one. So the cosine of 2 theta equals 2 cosine squared of theta minus 1. And what we've been given is the cosine of 2 theta. So I'm going to replace this 3/4 into the left-hand side of this formula. So I have 3/4 replacing the cosine of 2 theta equals 2 cosine squared of theta minus 1. Now what we're going to do is we're going to undo and solve for the cosine of theta. So let's first add 1 to both sides. That'll remove the 1 from the right side. 3/4 plus 1, I'm just changing that to 4/4. So we have 7/4 equals 2 cosine squared of theta. Now we want to remove that 2. So we're going to either divide both sides by 2 or multiply both sides by 1/2. So 7/4 times 1/2 equals cosine squared of theta. And we multiply across 7/8 equals the cosine squared of theta. And now we need to undo the square. So we're going to square root both sides. So the cosine of theta equals plus or minus the square root of 7/8. Now I'm just going to break down that square root of 7 and then square root of 8. And square root of 8 is the same thing as square root of 4 times 2. And remember, square root of 4 is 2. So the square root of 7 stays as it is. And then I have 2 square roots of 2. Now they did give us some information that says that the cosine of theta is acute. So that means less than 90 degrees. So if we think about, here's the first quadrant, here's pi over 2, cosine is positive here. So if I had a negative, it would be now larger than 90 degrees. So our final answer then would be the cosine of theta has to be a positive square root of 7 and then over 2 square roots of 2. I want to review with you for a moment the Pythagorean identity, and that's leading us into the next example that's with this problem. Here is the Pythagorean identity. Sine squared of x plus cosine squared of x. If I subtract both sides by the cosine squared of x, which is the next step, and then if I want a single sine of x, so to remove this sine squared of x, to undo it, I square root both sides. So the sine of x equals plus or minus the square root of 1 cosine squared of x. We are going to be using this formula on the next slide. Now on the second half of this smartboard slide is the same exact Pythagorean identity. But now I solved it for the cosine squared of x. And then I undid the squared to get it to be cosine of x. All right, so we've already solved for what the cosine of theta was in the previous example. So we're giving you the same cosine of 2 theta is 3/4. And we want to find out what is the sine of theta. And we have this formula right here. The sine of x equals plus or minus 1 minus cosine squared of x. So I'm just going to go back a couple slides here. This is the problem that we just worked on in this video. The cosine of theta is right here. The square root of 7 over 2 square roots of 2. All right, so to find the sine of theta equals plus or minus, and we're going to replace that cosine of theta. So I'm just going to write down that cosine of theta from 2 slides ago. The cosine of theta was the square root of 7 over 2 square roots of 2. So now I'm going to replace this in the radical. Cosine squared, so I have to replace this with the square root of 7 over 2 square roots of 2, and then this is squared. Now we have some cleaning up to do. So I'm going to first just square this fraction. So I have the square root of 7, 2 square roots of 2, times itself, square root of 7, times 2 square roots of 2. I'm going to multiply across with that fraction. Set. So square root of 7 times square root of 7 is 7. And then go down to the denominator. 2 times 2 is 4. And then square root of 2 times square root of 2 is 2. Now to continue simplifying, I notice I have an 8 in the denominator for that fraction because 4 times 2 is 8. So I have 7/8. And then I'm going to just change that 1 to 8 over 8. So 8/8 minus 7/8 is 1/8. Plus or minus. Plus or minus again. Split up the square root of 1. Square root of 8 is the same thing as 2 times 4. Plus or minus the square root of 1 over 2 square roots of 2. And you can change that square root of 1 to a 1. IB textbooks leave the radical in the denominator. We would like you to still rationalize that. Now, one last thing. It told us that the sine of theta is also acute. So which quadrant is the sine of theta acute? It's in quadrant 1. So we can eliminate the negative. So the sine of theta is 1 over 2 square roots of 2. Again, make sure you rationalize it.